Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I am your host for today's broadcast, Insane Leader 13, and tonight we are about to get underway for the fourth race of the FEC Indycar season here. This is going to be our our third road course race of the season, as we are going to be descending here on Grand Oak. Looking at a smaller field tonight than we've had for most of the season, a 13-car grid. Scored Buffalo, NDL Didn't Do, Maybe Racing, and Claiming Racer all are going to be the four drivers at the top of the field in today's event. It came very close to having a upset bolster with Dindu, but Scored Buffalo nipped them at the very end of the session here and ended up leaping forward. Real quickly, let's go ahead and look at the championship standings after the way our first three races have turned out. Thus far, Scored Buffalo is still your championship leader with 83 points, but he did miss last week's race at Miami. Second place is Claiming Racer with 71 points, but he missed our season opener. Third place, and the highest of everyone who has made all the races thus far, is Maybe Racing. He has 60 points. He is in a tie with Jack Brosov, who also has 60 points and a fastest lap to his name as well. Fifth is GRPK Golden. He has 53 points at this stage in the season. Sixth is NDL Shadow with 52. He is not running in tonight's event due to issues with the setup and track combo. In seventh position is NFL Racer 4812. He has 47 points. There is a tie for 8th between Prius Killer 8110 and Dino Prime 77. They both have 40 points each, and neither of them will be able to attend tonight's race. 10th is Coca. He has 39 points, which puts him in a tie with Amish Gaming 23 and Thomas 086R. However, Thomas is here, as is Amish, so they will fly up the grid here. The Big Mav is 13th in the championship standings with 38 points. In 14th is Pindaz with 36. In 15th is 2 Fuzzball 4267 with 35 points. Then in 16th and 17th position is another tie between PTG Neb and VER Polax. They both have 30 points each. For Neb, this is going to be a windfall points day. He has not had a single finish in the top 15 thus far this season due to late race shenanigans. By default, just by starting today's race, he is guaranteed, worst case scenario, a 13th place finish. So Neb is going to have a fantastic points day. In 18th is PTG Speed. He has 27 points. And in 20th is Neesmorph, who also has 27 points. Speed is missing today's race as well due to other commitments and a disagreement with the circuit. Stinky Potato 841 is 20th. He has 23 points at the season. Then after that is Dr. Pepper, XMS Dragon, and Kuro Shine. They are all tied for 20 points each for 21st position. After that is NDL Drewski. He has 24th with 18 points. There is a tie for 25th between NDL Dindu and GGA Spino. They both have 16 points each. Then there is a tie for 11th between VER Razor, Drew Rocks, and Big Block. They all have 11 points each and a tie for 27th. In 30th position and down is your tie for 10 points each between VER Twitchy, Raid Havoc, Packerman, Deed Speeman, and Tactical Fallout. As the field is already underway right now here for the pace lap. 60 laps, a little bit longer than what this race was last season, but it's going to be a 59 actual lap race. 13 drivers. Again, Scored Buffalo, your points leader, taking another pole. So he has had the pole in every single race he has started thus far this season, continuing to compound his advantage at the head of the grid. NDL Dindu is going to be second. Maybe is going to be third. Claiming Racer, last week's winner, the only other driver who has won a race thus far this season, is going to be fourth. And then Amish Gaming is 5th, and PTG Neb up there in 6th, NFL in 7th, Thomas 8th, Steve Patel 9th, JRPK Golden, who is on the periphery of the championship battle, but likely not seriously in it. He is 10th, Pindaz is 11th, Dr. Pepper is 12th, and Keen Racing Leo is eyeing out the field in 13th position, as the field has already doubled up as they are now coming down through the last two corners on the circuit. Dindu is going to be on the outside, Scored Buffalo is going to be on the inside. It's going to be an interesting look to see who is going to be ahead going into turn number 2. Turn 1 completely flat out, but the racing line is going to be wide early in the event. We're anticipating it's going to narrow up later, and we have just had 2 disconnects and now several more disconnects, and there may be a last-minute lobby reset right before they got to the start-finish line as well. So whatever went wrong there, they did not discover it until the last possible minute, so it looks like they're going to have to do a lobby reset. So while we are waiting on that, we'll go ahead and take a Twitch-mandated ad break. We'll be back momentarily here at Grand Oak. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Grand Oak here, as we are about to get underway once more for our event. We've already attempted one start, but there must have been some sort of hiccup when it came to lobby setup or grid ordering. As they were coming to the line, they ended up backing out and having to do a lobby restart, but they are now loading back onto the circuit, preparing to get underway once again here. Seems like the grid ordering has been semi-randomized after this, so it's going to be a little bit of reorganizing. But again, with only 13 drivers, it should be significantly easier this time than what you would normally see. Here's your interval list. Lap times, expect them to absolutely fly by here. You can complete a lap here in a little bit under a minute and 15 seconds at full power here. Another thing to remember, this circuit, along with most of the circuits in the game, very fuel load sensitive. The Indycars are also very fuel load sensitive. So this is likely going to be another race where, unless we go green all the way through and there's a chance to cut out a pit stop or two, because pit stops will take a long time here, drivers will be better off to run the softer compound tires with lighter fuel loads, because you gain so much more time on the light fuel load around here. And I would not be surprised at all if any of our drivers near the front of the grid are running light fuel loads to hopefully open up a gap. 80% though from Scored Buffalo is a lot more than what we'd be expecting. Dindu, who's going to be starting in second, has a 100% fuel tank. So maybe some of our drivers going for a long run early. 70% in the fuel load for maybe racing in third. Fourth place, Claiming Racer, he has got about 80% in his fuel tank. So some heavier fuel loads near the front of the field, an inversion of what we saw at this race last year. Again, last year, light fuel loads was the way to go all the way through. But today, everyone is running heavy fuel loads at the head of this field. 13 cars coming down to take the green here at Grand Oak. 2 by 2 all through the field until the last row, which will be solo with King Racing Lil. And it looks like this time we should be able to get underway without issue. As they come down to it, Buffalo inside, Dindu outside, and Buffalo gets a fantastic jump. We are underway here at Grand Oak, and Dindu immediately being swamped by Maybe Racing. Maybe goes right by Dindu, and now Claiming gets to the inside. He's trying to go to the inside, can't make it stick. We see Dindu working the extreme outside, trying to hold it together. Someone has gone sideways farther in the back. That may have been Dr. Pepper. But Dindu is now recovered back ahead of Maybe and now is back up to second. But Scored Buffalo is your leader now, with Maybe running in second, Claiming back. They're in fourth now, so maybe third. Claiming fourth. Dindu now trying to lunge forward at Buffalo as teammates Maybe and Claiming run not quite nose to tail as they go down the second of 2 consecutive back straightaways here. Now through this very technical section, a lot of banking here. There's only one lane here, but if the driver ahead is slow on the throttle or struggling with power application coming out of here, it gives you a great opportunity to try and get side by side, get him offline in the final corner. No such moves here at the head of the field. And despite this, what looked like that big slide we had earlier, there does not seem to be any big breakup near the rear of the grid. Seems like the field is all still relatively kept together early on here, but already a 7-second gap from first to 13th right now. Top 4 all on top of each other. Maybe now trying to close in on Dindu. Claiming, looking to the outside of Maybe, just trying to get on an alternate line here to get some cleaner air, but that is Maybe trying to go the long way around. Now crossing over on Dindu here. He is going to be on the outside. Dindu will be on the inside. Now, this 90-degree corner has a lot of different lanes through, but all of those lanes cross over and intersect at the apex. So the driver ahead should still have the advantage. Dindu had a horrible time putting the power down. He runs Maybe all the way down to the dirt, but Maybe gets the nose there, side by side in the corner, but Maybe is going to back out. He says, oh, this is only lap 3, but when he backed out, he dropped the left side tire on the outside grass, slid a bit. The gap opens up between himself and Dindu, and Claiming closes back in. Scored trying to scoot away from what is currently a fight for second position, as Scored trying to run off into the distance right now. Out of turn 1, and now coming back down to turn number 2. Here's Dindu, here's Maybe, here is Claiming. This time, though, Maybe is closer to Claiming behind him than he is to Dindu in front of him. Here's Dindu. Here's maybe right behind. Claiming back there in 4th. Claiming really closes in under braking there. But again, you can't get side by side cleanly through these corners. Technically, you could go side by side. The track is wide enough. But there's really only one lane through those very technical corners. Now maybe has got right back behind Dindu again. Dindu holds station. Maybe runs there in 3rd. Now maybe looks to the inside. Now pulls back in line. Again, maybe 3rd in points coming into today's race. But he has a big gap in points between himself and Scored. And right now with Dindu running in 2nd and Scored scooting away in the lead, this is not what maybe wants to see. Right now, this is the most active battle on track right now. Most of the rest of the field is... Well, there is some stuff going on farther back here in more towards the rear of the grid. This is NFL Racer and Pindaz, 2 other veterans in the FEC ecosystem. Pindaz moves ahead of NFL for the moment. Next car up ahead of him is Stinky Potato, who is running in the lead of this little 3-car group. Pindaz has a run on him right now. Going down the 2nd back straightaway this time by, but it does not look like Pindaz is close enough to make any moves for now. Have a lunge there by Pindaz, gets to the inside of Stinky Potato. And he's by around the outside, and NFL followed suit. That camera angle was awful at showing that, but good job on both Pindaz and NFL Racer to sneak by Stinky Potato, who went wide, took way too conservative of a line, and left the inside to outside line wide open for those 2 drivers to go right by. All right, side by side for 2nd position. This is Dindu and Maybe Racing all over again. Now down the first of the 2 back straightaways. Didn't do inside, maybe outside, but it looks like maybe is going to potentially try a crossover going through this 90-degree corner. Didn't do defend it, but that just gave maybe a run on the outside, but he gets into the dirt. He's all sorts of sideways. Here comes Dindu on the inside, Claiming, looking outside. 3 wide for 2nd position. Around the outside of them all goes Claiming. And your 2nd place driver in points goes to 2nd position on the track. Dindu loses a spot to one of the 4 drivers, but it's not the one who had been stalking him. And now Claiming jumps into 2nd and maybe gets a shot to run down Scored Buffalo. Remember, at this stage of the season, both Scored and Claiming have both missed a single race each. Claiming is only about 9 points out from Scored. If he can run down and pass Scored for this win, he could go into the series points lead right now. And maybe still hanging out in 4th. He runs behind Dindu. A big twitch here by Dindu as they go into turn number 2. And while this has been going on, they have been pulling away from the rest of the grid. The next closest driver to them in 5th place is Amish, who is still running about 4.5 seconds out of the lead right now. So he's been losing about a half a second a lap thus far. Actually, a little bit less than half a second, closer to about 35 hundredths of a second a lap to our lead group thus far. It doesn't sound like a lot, but that does build up over a 60-lap affair. Claiming Racer, 1.5 seconds out from Scored Buffalo. He does not have to worry about being attacked from behind. Is there anything that he can do? As we still watch Dindu, he wants to try and get the draft back off of Claiming and make a run back on him, but maybe is closer to Dindu than Dindu is to Claiming. Out of the final corner and now down the front straightaway. 6 tenths that time between Claiming and Dindu, but only about 4.5 tenths between Dindu and Maybe. So again, any amount that Dindu may have closed on Claiming in the front straightaway there, Maybe closed on him more, and now Claiming is about 7 tenths. Once you hit that about that 8 tenths gap, the draft is gone. It does look like, though, Dindu is just barely within drafting range of Claiming as they come onto the straightaways, and maybe might have dropped the tire into the dirt and has lost some ground to Dindu coming onto the back straightaways. That gap opens up to almost 8 tenths. Now it is 8 tenths, so maybe would have lost the draft to Dindu. Again, maybe is starting to put his championship defense together, but it's not looking as bulletproof as it was before. That's Claiming! 2nd place, Claiming Racer goes off all by himself as he was trying to focus forward and run down Scored. And now Claiming falls to 5th. He'll be right behind Amish Gaming. And Dindu now goes up into 2nd. And he has a roughly 1 second gap over Maybe. So for Dindu, suddenly the track is clean ahead. He might have a shot to try and knuckle down and see if he can run down and do anything to Scored as we continue here. Claiming now has fallen to 5th. He has fallen behind Amish. 2 drivers who sadly end up mixing them up quite a bit here. But it is that 13 Ford who runs behind that green and white machine. Again, overtaking here is it's not difficult to get side by side with people here. There are lots of opportunities to get side by side, but the apex of the corners are really single lane around just about everywhere here. You have to really catch the driver ahead, off guard, or get him to make a mistake to get him offline so you can power by him on the normal racing line. Now, Claiming pulled off that amazing 3-wide overtake a few laps ago on the duo of Didn't Do and Maybe. So overtaking Amish, in theory, should be less of an issue, but here's the thing. Amish is not distracted with another driver. Maybe and Didn't Do were spending a lot of time battling with each other, and that let Claiming sneak by. Amish can focus on just the track and just the one car behind him. So, yes, Amish may be a little bit slower than the other drivers Claiming has been fighting with, but Amish is a lot more locked in and a lot more concentrated. He is going to be more prepared for sudden moves from behind. Didn't Do has cracked the 2-second gap between himself and Buffalo. He is now trying to wind down the gap between himself and the pole setter. Again, Didn't Do came very close to taking the pole, but Scored Buffalo nicked it from him in the very last moment. This is the move for fourth, potentially. Nose to tail. Around the outside is Claiming, and Amish, high-centered on the inside curb, was caught really off guard. The move's not finished yet, but Amish is going to have to back out early into the corner, and that's exactly what he does, and Claiming goes right by without issue. The thing for Claiming now is a 5-second gap, roughly, about 4.5-second gap between himself and third place Maybe, and Didn't Do is continuing to slowly roll down and close down the gap between himself and Scored Buffalo here. Most of the other battles on track have pretty much dissolved. I do real quickly want to give a shout out to PTG Neb. Neb was practicing at Grand Oak, but he was practicing the forward layout. This is the reverse layout. I personally would argue this is the superior layout, so I'm happier we're here than on the forward layout. But Neb had been practicing on the forward layout, showed up about 20 minutes before qualifying, realized that it was the reverse layout, and was absolutely freaking out. I don't know what to do. But right now, he's running clean in 6th position. The problem is, though, Neb has frequently been in the top 10 late in these races, has been involved in late race messes or strategy shenanigans that go wrong, and he has plummeted out of the result. Yes, 13th by default is going to be a fantastic result for him with how bad this season has started, but Neb needs to keep a 6th place together. 6 seems to be where his pace is right now. He needs to focus forward and keep this pace together right now. All right, Maybe racing in third is starting to close back down on Didn't Do. Let's look at the fuel and tire wear of our top 3. 34% tire wear and 35% in the fuel tank for Maybe. For Didn't Do, who runs in 2nd position right now, 37% tire wear, 61% in the fuel. So Didn't Do is expecting to go nice and long on the fuel or short fill when he does pit. And Scored Buffalo, your leader, 37% on the tires, 42% on the fuel tank. So of our top 3, Maybe will likely be the first of these 3 to make a stop, Scored Buffalo a little bit later than Didn't Do afterwards. But again, the big question is, how far are these drivers going to go? How many pit stops are they going to make? Because you will gain a lot of time around this circuit with a light fuel load and softer tires. But pitting takes a lot of time away from you. Didn't Do has a lot of fuel in the tank, which makes him a lot slower than normal, but that also means he might be able to short fill when he does make a pit stop, put a little bit less in the tank, gain a little bit of time in the pit stops, and try to move forward then. That also means that he will unlock more and more speed as the race goes on, while Scored and Maybe are a little bit closer to what their actual in-race pace is going to be throughout the run. So Didn't Do likely has a little bit more speed in him, but he needs to stay clear of Maybe and focus forward on Scored Buffalo. Didn't Do seems to get within this 1 3/4 to 2-second gap behind Buffalo, but can't seem to close the gap down anymore, and Maybe is hanging out in 3rd position, but can't seem to motion forward. This is still going very good for Scored Buffalo, your championship leader at this current event. Going down the first of the back straightaways, and now onto the second of the back straightaways. So that gap for 2nd and 3rd is now starting to open up. In fact, most of the gaps on the field have pretty well opened up. But we have this going on here near the rear of the grid. This is NFL Racer trying to close back in on Thomas. Now, Sticky Potato has actually gotten back in front of these two, has opened the gap a little bit. Interesting thing, obviously, no one has made a pit stop yet. There's also Golden and Pindaz just a little bit farther up the road. Again, Golden was in a fantastic position coming into Miami, was leading earlier in the race, but had a tremendous accident, got trapped him a bunch of laps down, and he did not finish anywhere near the front despite having front-running pace. Pindaz has just been kind of running middle of the field all season long. So for Pindaz, this would be a solid points haul. For Golden, this is an improvement for Miami, but he knows he can do better than this as he's trying to focus forward. Pindaz looking around the outside, can't make it stick that time though. So Pindaz falls back in line behind Golden. So these two drivers trying to go for two completely different things right now. Again, you can catch someone. In fact, here at Grand Oak, more than most other circuits, it's actually very easy to get alongside somebody. But completing the pass is very difficult here. There are overtaking zones and overtaking opportunities, but it's very hard to make them stick all the way through and not get immediately crossed over or outrun coming out of a following corner. You really have to rely on mistakes from other drivers. Now, on restarts, this turn 2 and 3 complex is fantastic for getting side by side with people. You saw on the initial start, 2nd through 5th, all jockeying for position. But as you get into it and as the race really gets going and spreads out, everyone's speed differentials are very similar. There are a lot of different lines throughout several of these corners here. Turn 1 has about 2 or 3 lines. Turn 2 has about 4 lines in it. Turn 4, the right-hander between the two back straightaways, there's about, I feel, 7 different lines through there. But all those lines intersect at an apex at all of those corners, which makes it very hard to hold side by side and end up maintaining an advantage that you gained coming in as you do going out. All right, Dindu has closed the gap on the leader down to about 1.5 seconds. And again, remember, Dindu is running a heavier fuel load than Buffalo. This means 2 things. 1, under pit stops, Dindu will have a theoretically shorter fill. 2, it means that there is more speed potentially in Dindu's machine, but he seems to be sliding backwards again and now falling back out of that 1.5 second gap to scored Buffalo. Claiming, who runs in 4th position, 2nd in points coming into tonight's race. He is starting to close down on maybe. The gap is only a bit over 2.5 seconds, so a podium is still in the cards here for this number 13 Ford right now. Again, he has a 1st and a 2nd on the season. Scored has a pair of 1sts on the season. Maybe at this stage of the year has, as I pull up the data sheet real quickly again, has a 10th, a 3rd, and a 5th. Looks like Thomas has muscled his way by Stinky Potato here and is using him as a pick to try and keep NFL a little bit farther back, who has really fallen off the pace. So it seems like 9th, 10th, 11th may have a bit of a back and forth going on for a bit here. And that is Keen Racing Leo, who is now already gone a lap down. The gaps in the field are relatively large at this point as we are continuing to just click off laps at a monstrous pace right now. Watching Stinky Potato still running behind Thomas here. Close enough for a draft, but is he going to try and make a move? Does he have any ideas for moves? I turn my focus back at the head of the grid real quickly. Scored Buffalo, who has led comfortably every lap from the lead. He is at 57% tire wear, 21% still in the fuel tank. Dindu, who runs in 2nd, is at 58% tire wear, 39% in the fuel tank. Maybe, who we know has the lowest amount of fuel of everyone here in the top 4, he is at 12% fuel, 56% wear on the tire. So maybe he's managing his tire life slightly better. And then Claiming, who was back here in 4th, had that slide off earlier. He is only at 54% wear, has 20% tank. So Claiming is in a position that he might be able to stay out an extra lap or 2 longer than our lead drivers. But he is so far back right now in time, I don't know how much it's going to help him. Dindu has now closed that gap down. He's now within about 1.25 seconds of scored Buffalo. So the gap at the head of the grid is starting to close. And again, we anticipate that there's more speed in Dindu, and to be fair, I think there's more speed that Scored Buffalo is going to show us later as well. I think Scored Buffalo also is likely going to have less fuel in the tank as the race goes on. Right now, they're both a little bit overfilled. I anticipate they'll both have slightly shorter stops and will be running slightly lighter fuel loads and will be able to go slightly faster as the event continues here. Gap is open back up to about a second and a half, a second and a fourth, somewhere around there. But Buffalo is going to have to deal with a little bit of traffic here. And that would be Dr. Pepper. Now, Pepper is holding the inside line, but Buffalo is not close enough to clear him for this position right now. But Pepper is going to go wide, let Buffalo through, and then follow right behind Buffalo. So he's not an issue for Dindu yet, but Buffalo got by lap traffic at the most opportune time, was not held up for him in one of the more technical sections. So what of Dindu? Where will Dindu get by Pepper? Already you can see he's just about caught Pepper as they go down the front straightaway. He has the draft off of Pepper now. And if he's held up by Pepper in this turn 2 and 3 complex, it's really going to hold him up. But if he can clear him... No, he's really held up. And now that gap for the lead is starting to open up again. King Racing Leo jumping back into the pits right now. But that gap is now opening back up for a lead as Dindu is being hamstrung by the presence of Dr. Pepper. He's not close enough to pass Dr. Pepper, but he is dealing with the aero wash, dealing with the aero wake. So the way aero wash and aero wake works in Forza is not quite the same way it is in real life. In Forza, the draft and aero wash is very, very simple if you're the following driver. You are automatically dragged a little bit faster than the car ahead of you in the draft. But that also means that you have more speed being carried into the corners. That means you usually have to get on the throttle or on the brakes. Or they're Buffalo and Dindu painting at the exact same time. But the gap between them was about 2 seconds, and it looks like maybe he's painting at the same time as well. So 19 green flag laps seems to be the limit for Buffalo, Dindu, and maybe. But Claiming Racer is staying out for another circuit here. So Claiming Racer will now be our second different driver to lead the race tonight. Neb looks like he is going to be staying out by the looks of it. Now, we anticipate that Scored Buffalo has enough of a gap on Dindu that even though Dindu will have a slightly shorter fill, Buffalo will still maintain this position. But the interesting thing is going to be Claiming Racer because he has not caught traffic yet. He is about to catch traffic, though. That is Dr. Pepper just a little bit ahead. And Neb is clear of Scored Buffalo by quite a bit. So Neb is still running in clean air as he is going deep in this run. We're anticipating that Claiming will pit any moment now, but Claiming going 1 lap longer. Again, this is a 60-lap race, technically 59 racing laps. Buffalo, Dindu, maybe only seem to be content to go 19 laps. So either they have to go longer, 1 lap longer on all the remaining stops, or they're going to be in a rough position. Claiming by going 20 laps now is going to have a slight tire advantage basically to the end of the run. But I look right now, Scored Buffalo maintaining roughly a 2-second gap on NDL. Dindu maybe has slipped to about 4 seconds out from Dindu right now and has NFL Racer just behind him. Now, mind you, we look at NFL, he's got worn tires, but they are the medium compound tires. He's running a harder compound tire, trying to make an alternate strategy work. It has put him right here in the positioning to cause some issues. Here's Claiming into the pits now. So Neb now inherits the lead, and we anticipate that Claiming is going to end up back here with maybe an NFL once he completes his run in the pits. In fact, we're going to see him coming out of pit road momentarily here. Where is maybe going to be in relation to Claiming? Claiming out of pit road. He's on the inside trying to get his tires up to temp. Maybe is right there. His tires are already up to temp. Now, you'll get your tires up to temp really nice and quickly here. So maybe he's only going to have one shot at this here. And this is going to be down the second back straightaway. He's got the draft dog Claiming, but staying out 1 extra lap, that overcut might have given Claiming the position. Yeah, maybe is not close enough to do anything to Claiming this time by. And now Claiming starts running off into the distance and maybe is still being harassed by NFL. Again, NFL on worn medium tires still harassing maybe. So there is some real good pace that NFL has, but he has been hiding it with the harder compound tire. And now that his fuel load's burned off, he's really taken him to task. And the other thing as well, if NFL plans to run all mediums all the way through, he could potentially go until lap 30, pit then, and then go to lap 60. NFL might, it would be rough if there's no yellow, but NFL may have a one-stop strategy in the cards, while everyone ahead of him seems to be locked into a two-stop. I look at PTG Neb, who is leading right now. He is at 49%. He is also on the medium tire, so I think Neb is also on the single-stop strategy. And don't look now, but Buffalo and Dindu, the gap between them has shrunk to about 0.8 of a second. So Dindu is indeed finding time. We look at the fuel load, 70% in the fuel tank for Dindu. I look at Buffalo, who is second, leading on the primary strategy, 70%. So now they are more even on their fuel loads, and Dindu has found a bit more speed by virtue of running slightly less fuel than what he was now. The gap now hanging out about 8 to 9 tenths of a second right now. Claiming Racer still scooting away from Maybe. NFL runs, yes, within Maybe's draft, but is not really in a position to harass him. Again, NFL by this point will be feeling his tires falling off. I don't think NFL is in a position to fight for the overall win. I don't think he has the pace for that. But a podium might be in the cards if he can keep Maybe in sight until he makes a stop and then not lose too much time later. He might still have a shot at a podium on this alternate one-stop strategy here. All right, Buffalo was starting to pull from Dindu again, so it looks like Buffalo has recovered a little bit of speed. Dr. Pepper pitting here in the 8th position now. He got his tires out to 48% wear, so he's doing a good job managing his tires, but had to finally jump in and pit by the looks of it, so this will trap him a lap down now. But Neb leading laps here, trying to salvage something out of this season that started so badly for him, but he is in clean air right now and leading on what we believe is a single stop strategy. Scored Buffalo is leading on what we believe is the two-stop strategy, and Buffalo, while he is closing on Neb, will he close enough on him to catch him? Because if Buffalo can catch and get by Neb at the end of lap 30, Buffalo should still have the overall upper hand. But if Neb is still ahead of Buffalo at the end, then Neb may have the upper hand. But again, the first lap of this race was under pace speed, less aggressive fuel usage, less aggressive tire wear on that very first lap. That may not sound like a lot, but it can have a massive impact when you're calculating numbers. That is one of the reasons I want to keep an eye on Claiming, because Claiming went that extra lap early on. We know that they already have seen the worst that their soft tire compounds are going to be, that it's only going to get that bad and no worse. For Scored, for Maybe, for Dindu, it's going to get worse for them as this goes on. So Claiming does have a small advantage. He has basically already played the strategy Piper right now. And NFL, to his credit, while he has just now lost the draft on Maybe, he is still doing good enough. He might be able to nip one or two drivers on strategy here if he doesn't fall too far off of Maybe. This could end up being a windfall run here for NFL. Best finish in the FEC IndyCar Series for NFL was second at Grand Oak last season. That was a 175-lap race. He finished second, was still a lap down. At the end of that race, went a lap down the last 5 laps, but that has been his best finish. We know that he has some pace. He would love to try and put himself on the podium again. We know he has that kind of pace for podiums, but it's been so hard for him to string it together. He might be able to do something with that tonight, though, on this alternate strategy if we stay green flag to flag. Neb now pitting, but he only made it to lap 26, and his tires are at 56% wear. He's almost out of fuel, though, 10% left. He probably could have stayed out for a few more laps, but Neb pitting at 26, not 30. So Neb, I think, is effectively off of the one-stop strategy. And that is going to derail his run. I mean, I still think that Neb has the pace to maybe pull off a 5th or 6th place finish, but he is now going to be forced onto the two-stop strategy and is not going to be in a position to fight for the win anymore with this man here, Scored Buffalo. Buffalo has started at the front, led the first 19 laps, pitted, ended up behind some other drivers in alternate strategies, but he is ahead of everyone else who is on that main strategy here. So almost halfway through here at Grand Oak, we're going to take a Twitch-mandated ad break. We will be back momentarily here for the FEC Summer IndyCar Series. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Grand Oak. We are almost halfway through tonight's event. Caution-free thus far. Didn't do. Rudd's in second. This is the closest he has been to Buffalo thus far today. Excuse me. Closest to Buffalo he's been thus far today since the end of lap 1. A little bit of traffic came through, held up Buffalo and didn't do a bit. The interesting thing, I think, is going to be Claiming Racer, because Claiming back there in third, he is on a very slight positive tire delta. And if Buffalo and Dindu spend a lot of time fighting here, Claiming could be in a position to really close down. Maybe continues to hang out in the 4th position right now. So, once again, the championship fight is the main 3 drivers, the top 3 drivers in FEC. It is Scored, Claiming, and Maybe. But their paths are starting to diverge a bit as to how they have become the 3 top drivers in the season championship. But Buffalo's continuing to lead here at Grand Oak, with Dindu hanging out just in his draft now. A little bit of a slide out of that right-hander by Buffalo, but he's maintained his lead about a third of a second now over Dindu. So now, Buffalo will be getting what is known as the inverse arrow wash. It is a little feature that Forza added to this game. While I like the idea of the feature, I feel it wasn't implemented very well. When somebody is within about 7/10 of you, you will get what is basically a reduction in front-end downforce once somebody is within 7/10 of a second in you. It's not the worst. But when you're at the top level of performance, like we know these drivers at the head of this field are, you will feel it, you will notice it, and it will drive you mad. And Dindu is close enough that the game is now activating that negative reverse arrow wash against Scored Buffalo, and Dindu is really starting to harass him down the straightaways. And the other thing as well, these drivers are about I don't know how long I've been muted. I've been going on for a long time here. But Dindu, right ahead of Buffalo. And Dindu now is in that position where he has to deal with traffic. And yes, there are blue flags in the series, but how the drivers follow blue flags is up to them. They're just required to give way to the leaders. Like right here, you could see that the choice by Stinky Potato was to hold his normal racing line until the end of the braking zone and just go wide, while Dindu on the normal racing line as well got right under Stinky Potato, may have compromised his turn in, but that gap is opening in Dindu's favor. He has found something as now starting to pull away just a little bit here, just a little bit past this race's halfway point. Again, I don't know how long I was muted there. I do apologize. I had been going in depth on how that pass would have played out and then how it did happen. So I do apologize if that ended up being a large period of dead air. But now that gap has rapidly opened up 8/10 in Dindu's favor now, but he still has a lot of traffic ahead. And these drivers ahead of him, Thomas, Golden, NFL, these all are drivers fighting legitimately for position here. NFL is just close enough. He can almost smell the draft off of Golden, and Golden can get the draft off of Thomas as well. So these drivers are legitimately fighting for position. NFL, we believe, on that medium compound tire early in the event, jumped onto an ultra straight, and Golden dropped the tire to the dirt. He's sideways going into that corner. He'll lose a little bit of ground to Thomas, and it sucks NFL right behind him. Just behind, you can see Dindu's car coming in. Here comes a big lunge there by NFL. Lunged up to the inside of Golden. Golden had to get wide to let him by. NFL goes by Golden. Golden looks back to the inside. A little bit of contact. Somehow Golden keeps that thing under him. And now Dindu is right there. How effectively can Dindu and Scored Buffalo behind him clear this traffic? Yeah, no, not really any issue with traffic at Huckahony. The circuit was too wide, too long, and too fast. Sunset, we didn't have a long enough green flag run for traffic to matter. This is the first time that traffic has really played a factor into one of these races. Dindu goes right by, Scored goes right by Golden, no issue there. I think this all but for sure takes Golden out of the fight of the championship. NFL has a bit of a slide right there in front of Dindu. Now Dindu looks to his inside, pulls up alongside, neck and neck, side by side. He'll easily clear NFL in the braking zone, I'd imagine. NFL tries to go deep so he doesn't lose too much ground, but he's wide and needs to be careful not to wash out into the dirt. He holds position for now, no big issue. But now, it is Thomas who is holding up our leader. Dindu now behind, but Scored has lost some more ground to Dindu as he has not yet gotten by NFL. Thomas is going to hold the inside line coming down to turn 1. Dindu going around the outside. Easy overtake. So Dindu disposes of traffic much quicker that time than Scored. Scored still has to get by both these guys, and Dindu is going to be in clean air for several more laps now. Scored is still hold up. Again, NFL and Thomas, they are legitimately fighting each other for position right now. This is a legitimate battle. They can't just walk over and let Buffalo by. They run the risk of not having the ability to fight for this position going on, especially if we go green to the end. A big let off here could... Oh, wow, that was great job by NFL. Thomas, he let Thomas go ahead and back out for a leader to go through, and NFL saw that door open for the leader, and he lunged and got right back alongside. Great racecraft there by NFL, and now he is clear of Thomas. Thomas tried to make it side by side here, but again, it's so inopportune to go side by side in that section at the end of Sector 2, start of Sector 3. It's just way too technical. Yes, the track is physically wide enough, but there's really only one ideal racing line. And while all this has been going on, Claiming is struggling with traffic as well. He is still 7 seconds out of the lead right now. NFL still under threat from Thomas. The next driver that the leaders will catch will be Pindaz. And after that, I believe would be Keen Racing. No, it would be Dr. Pepper who'd be going 2 laps down. But right now, I'm interested in this. I think NFL has stabilized over Thomas for the moment. Now, NFL, if he is going medium-medium, which I don't think he is, if he's going medium-soft-soft, his race is kind of cooked. But if he's going medium-medium, if he can go long enough, he might still be able to jump back onto the lead lap late, but I don't see that happening right now. Neb runs in 6th position, well clear of the leaders right now, but he is on an alternate strategy. We think he is on a 2-stop, a medium-soft-soft strat. So he's not going to have any tire fall off, and he'll be very fast late, but he has a 42-second deficit to the leader, so he's not going to be able to do anything. Thomas pits, that takes him out of the fight with NFL, so we turn our focus back to Dindu, who he has now opened the gap to over 1 second over Buffalo. Now Buffalo just has now cleared that traffic, and Dindu has now caught Pindaz, series host. Pindaz holding the lane. Dindu trying to figure out a way by, and all of a sudden Buffalo is back within a second. Pindaz holding his normal racing line. He's going to force Dindu to go the long way around. And in Dindu's credit, he clears it with no issue. But Buffalo has gotten the gap down to about 9/10, about a second out from the lead. And now he's set his eyes forward, looking ahead at Pindaz. He has to clear Pindaz effectively. But he's going to catch Pindaz in the most technical section on the circuit. Very suboptimal. Immediately that gap for first starts opening up. Buffalo still isn't close enough to Pindaz to make the overtake. Might be able to get him on the run down to turn 1 if Pindaz lets off the throttle. And yeah, Pindaz goes very wide and gets off the throttle. Let him go and very nearly swerves into Buffalo. I think that was not timed as well as the two wanted it to be timed. Thing is, now Dindu and Scored are both going to be in clean air for a while. Claiming Racer runs in third position, about 7 seconds out of the lead, but he is still trying to navigate traffic. He's cleared Golden. Next driver on his list will be NFL, then Pindaz. As it stands right now, Buffalo would extend his points lead over Claiming, extend it over maybe, but it would be his first non-first place finish if everyone finished where they are right now. And we are coming up to the point where we think our drivers will be making their second and final stop. 63% wear for Dindu on that left front. For Scored Buffalo, who runs in second, he is at 63% as well. They only went 19 laps and then 1 pace lap in the first round. This time, they are going to have to go a little bit farther. They pitted at the end of lap 19 last time. Lap 20 last time. No, it was 19. Yeah, it was only 19. So they have to go a little bit farther. Their tires are only going to get worse. And Claiming will be in position to close, especially right now. Claiming is now in clean air, just like Dindu and Buffalo. And you look at Claiming's tires, he is at 57%. So his tires are a little bit fresher. He'll be putting down some nice, good laps right now. Scored really struggling at the moment right now, though. And look at this. Pindaz and NFL are now fighting for a position. That's Pindaz inside, NFL outside. Neck and neck, side by side to that right-hander. NFL around the outside. He is by. He is clear. He is through. Claiming now within 6 seconds. Dindu is pitting, but Scored Buffalo is not. So Dindu does not have the confidence to go 20 laps on his tires. Scored Buffalo is going to go the full distance. So we now know that Scored Buffalo will be able to go plenty deep on tires. Dindu has the pace to run down Buffalo, but does not have the confidence in the rubber. So when Buffalo pits, we know that he will be good on tires to the end. He'll only have to go about 19 or so laps. Dindu will still have to do 20. It's going to be rough. It's not going to be impossible, but it will be rough. And Claiming, who is now in second position, is now within 3 seconds of your leader, Buffalo. I look at that left front, 69%. He's going to be about 70% here. But the big thing for Buffalo, he is not going to have this massive tire fall off, I think, near the end, because he'll pit at the end of 41. He'll only have 19 laps to the end. He can afford to burn time right now. And look at that, NFL forcing his way by to get onto the lead lap right now. Probably won't matter much because he'll probably go a lap down a little bit later anyway. But that really shows how much those worn out tires hurt you. Dindu has sacrificed strategy to gain some track position and pace, but he is going to be behind on the tire game going forward. And Claiming is going to pit at the same time as Buffalo, but Claiming closed the gap on Buffalo down to 2.2 seconds. Dindu is going to have a massive track position advantage over Buffalo and Claiming, but Dindu is going to have a massive tire life disadvantage. If we stay green here, our top 3 may all converge back on each other all over again. Also of note, Maybe Racing in third position. Look at how much farther he is going now. He is at 45%. Why? He is on the medium compound tire. He is on a wildly alternate strategy, trying to make something a little bit different happen to serve in his favor late in the running. In this race last season, there were 2 yellows, one very early and one very late in the event. Maybe also could be in a position to get tires under a late race yellow and really cause some havoc then if we get a late race yellow. So Maybe leads right now. Dindu is second. Scored runs in the third position. I'd say that's probably about 7 seconds out. So the gap between Dindu and Scored massively opened as Scored stayed out that extra lap. But Scored does not have to worry about that going forward. Dindu will have to deal with maybe 1, if not 2, laps of very heavy wear at the very end of this race. If there is no yellow flags, that issue is less problematic. But if there's no yellow flags, Scored is going to be right on Dindu to the end of this. And Scored beat Dindu on the initial start of the race. Maybe pits now with about 18 laps left. So he is going to plummet quite a bit down the grid. I think he'll probably fall to about the 5th spot, but he is going to be on soft tires that will have no fall off whatsoever to the end of this race here. And credit where credit is due to NFL, he is running only about 30 seconds out of the lead on his alternate strategy. He's at 46% wear right now. I imagine he will be pitting sooner rather than later also. So maybe an NFL and potentially Neb as well on a 2-stop strategy where one of their stints are on mediums. Dindu, Scored Buffalo, and Claiming we believe that their strategy is to go all the way through the race on the soft tire compound. So some very interesting strategy calls going on here, but right now that all soft strategy seems to be the way to go. You can deal with that maybe one lap of real bad fall off and still hold the lead over these drivers. I will give Neb, who is currently running in third, full credit. He is running within 6 seconds of the leader, but he is at 54% tire wear. He'll be pitting sooner rather than later to throw on the softs to the end. But still, for Neb, this looks like it's going to be good. It looks like he might finally be able to pull together a good finish, respectable of what his actual pace is. The one stop doesn't look like it was possible for him. He didn't seem to have the confidence in that. But it looks like a finish in the top half of the field finally may be in the cards for PTG Neb here. It's still Dindu at the lead. It has still scored Buffalo in second. Third is Neb. Fourth is Claiming Racer, who has now caught Neb. Now, this is going to be a fight for position, but Claiming has already made his final stop. Neb has not. But Claiming, if he wants to do anything to Dindu and Scored, he needs to really hoof it right now. If Claiming is faster than Scored, he needs to clear Neb and start running down Scored now. So when Dindu's tires fall off, Claiming is in position to take advantage of that. But if he's held up too long by Neb, he won't be in position to capitalize once Dindu has that massive tire die-off in the final 2 laps. So Claiming needs to make this overtake and make it sooner rather than later. Mind you, both these drivers are Ford drivers. That is, I believe, Dr. Pepper just ahead of him, who really holds up Neb on the extreme outside, and Claiming can't really figure out a way to go through. Neb says, I've had enough. He pits with 15 laps to go. So now Claiming is in clean air. He is about 3 seconds out from Scored Buffalo. Now, last time he tried to run down Scored Buffalo, he went off all by himself in the twisties. But maybe he can put his nose down and run down Scored this time and be there when it counts, when Dindu has his tires fall off near the end of this run here. Credit where credit is due, there is a fight still for 9th, 10th, and 11th between Golden, Thomas, and Stinky Potato. These three going at it once again here. So there are still fights for positions happening off of the lead lap, but right now, everyone on the lead lap, they're all playing strategy games at the moment. And the leader on the strategy calls for now is Dindu, but we do not know what his tires are going to look like to the end. We're going to take a Twitch mandated ad break, and when we come back, we'll be with you to the checkered flag here at Grand Oak. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Grand Oak. You saw it just as we went to break. Major change in the championship and major change in the race. Claiming Racer, who was running third and may have had a shot to run down the duo of Dindu and Scored Buffalo, has lagged out of the event. He is going to drop down to a 13th place finish. And with how steady Scored Buffalo has been thus far and how steady we anticipate maybe will be as the season continues, that may have been all it took to nix Claiming Racer's serious shot at a championship run. We've already sent invites out to him to try and get post DNF interviews from Claiming, but he has not, either he's not been able to accept or he's not willing to accept. We do apologize for that. So now the fight is between Dindu and Buffalo as we're closing down to the last 12 laps as Dindu will hit the line this time. We look here, Dindu, 53% fuel. We're not worried about that. 24.8% on the tires. I look at Scored Buffalo, who is your second place driver right now. He is at 21.5%. So it's Buffalo nursing a tire advantage, a positive tire delta for Buffalo. He has a negative track position delta, but we saw Buffalo lose about 3 seconds on the final lap alone of his run on the 20-lap tires. Didn't do. Is he going to lose that same amount? Is he going to end up falling off that same amount? Could Buffalo end up catching Dindu at the end here? The other story that might be worth talking about could be the fight for fourth. Amish Gaming holding on in fourth position. PTG Neb runs in fifth. And Neb pitted just a few laps ago. He's got soft tires to the end. He might have the pace and the speed to nip Amish for that fourth place spot. And then third place, maybe racing. His gap to Buffalo is going to open, but he is going to leap ahead of Claiming in the championship standings, although he is really being held up by traffic bad right now. But he will jump ahead of Claiming in the championship standings, and he got into, I don't think it was too aggressively there, but he did get into Golden there. But that wasn't Golden, was it? Who was that? Was that Stinky Potato? Was it Thomas? It was one of these drivers. I could not tell who it was. I do apologize. That might get looked at post-race. But maybe we'll leap clear of Claiming in the championship, and we'll keep the gap to Buffalo roughly the same to where it was coming in. And again, the big thing is we don't know how many races Buffalo is going to run for the rest of the season. We know from last season and general FEC history that maybe we'll be here for just about every race this year. So remember, there is a drop round, which helps soothes Buffalo missing the race at Miami last week. But if he misses more races and maybe keeps showing up, this is a championship that awards attendance and consistency over big results. Scored has to basically show up to the rest of the races and keep finishing just ahead of maybe like he is right now if he wants to hold his championship lead over maybe at the moment. But again, the big thing I think more than anything else is going to be the fight for the win right now, because if Buffalo wins the race, that's a big extra point windfall. If he comes home second, he still brings home more points over maybe, but it's not as much. And the gap between Amish and Nev has slipped to about 2.2 seconds, and this duo is starting to close in on traffic. That would be Thomas in the 10th, and then you also have, this is Amish right here, and the next driver up in front of him is the 12th place, Keen Racing Leo, is already 3 laps down. I don't think he'll be too much of an issue, but then just ahead of them, you'll have Thomas, you'll have Stinky Potato, you'll have Golden. Those two drivers are still fighting. And if Amish catches them, he might be held up, and that may give Neb a chance to nip him. And Neb has better tires to the end. We know that for a fact. So Neb might have a go at 4th position here late in the race. But again, the focus is going to be at the head of the field at the end of this race. Didn't do open up enough of a gap on Buffalo or manage his tires enough so that he holds station over Buffalo to the end. We look at Didn't Do's tires right now. 35% on the most worn tire. I look at Scored Buffalo, who runs in second. His most worn tire is 31.7%. That's a 4% swing in wear right now with about 9 laps. Well, with 9 laps left once the leaders hit the line. Buffalo is going to close massively on Dindu, and maybe 30 seconds out is not going to be close enough to capitalize unless these two get into it and wreck. I think maybe is basically guaranteed a 3rd place result. The fight is going to be for the win. Will Buffalo be close enough to lunge on Dindu on the final laps when Dindu's tires fall off a cliff? Or is Dindu going to be able to manage the gap and manage his tire life enough to hold station over Buffalo? Buffalo started on pole, led the first several laps of the event, but in the mid-stage, Dindu on a slightly lighter fuel load, a fuel load that was equal to Buffalo's, he ran down Buffalo, got by him, and opened up the gap. He pitted a lap earlier than Buffalo on the 2nd round of stops. That has been the thing that has put Dindu behind the 8 ball. He has given him great track position, but on tire life, he is now behind the 8 ball. 4th place and 5th place, Amish and Neb are now cutting their way through traffic right now, so 2 different fights to keep an eye on. The stalking battle for 4th right now. Neb runs about 2.2 seconds out from Amish, and Neb has fresher tires to the end. Neb will not have to worry about tire fall off. And then, obviously, there is the potential for the fight for the lead. Buffalo has now closed that gap to about 4 seconds flat. So Buffalo is closing the gap on Dindu. Again, it's very easy to close the gap here. It's easy to get alongside here. Making an overtake stick a little bit difficult. But Buffalo has a potential massive advantage to the end here. that could be the big thing that really matters. The other thing as well, Golden and Stinky Potato still relatively close to each other, still in a position that they could fight each other if Golden has a bit of a hiccup here. And then Thomas is not too far back either. As we watch Amish and Neb trying to cut their way through traffic here with just a few laps left. Traffic management is going to be incredibly important for Amish. Amish was fine last season, but he has really picked up the pace. Coming into this season, he has found a lot more pace. He is a lot closer to the leaders this race than he was in this race last season. So Amish has really found some pace. Great job on his part to put this together. Fourth place result might be in the cards. As long as there's not a catastrophic failure, top 5 seems all but guaranteed for Amish right now as he closes in behind Thomas. Thomas is going to go nice and wide there in turn 2 and is going to back out so as not to compromise Amish in 3. Now, what of Neb? Because Neb has to worry about this as well. That gap at the lead is really closing down. It is now down to 3.4 seconds. Didn't do versus Scored. Again, Scored lost about 3 seconds to Didn't Do earlier, and he stayed out that lap longer. We are anticipating a similar amount of fall off on the last lap alone from Didn't Do. Buffalo may be just close enough to do something that Didn't Do here as they come to finish it at Grand Oak. Neb now right there, but he has traffic between them. Thomas runs right in front. He has to figure out a way to clear Thomas, and by the time he does that, Amish will already be lunging forward, trying to run down the duo of Golden and Stinky Potato, who are also right on top of each other for their own little fight here for 8th spot. Pindaz has actually opened up the gap on them, so it looks like Pindaz might be able to stabilize in 7th. Bad news for NFL. That alternate strategy has not worked out for him. He is going to be 6th, the first car, a lap down by the looks of it. This fight's still going on here. So a few different interesting fights sprinkled around the entire field right now. Neb within about 1.8 seconds of this duo, and look who's just caught them. That is Amish, who is cutting through, and Neb has lost ground. Amish is cutting through this pack now. He's already by one of them, now focusing forward, and Neb not close enough to do anything yet. So this really works out in Amish's favor. Golden cuts down in front of Amish briefly in the corner, then goes wide, gives him the lane, but Amish held up a bit more than he really wanted to be. But Amish is now clear. He'll be in clean air to the end. Neb did close the gap, but now he has to navigate his way by those 2 cars, and I don't know if he'll be able to do that effectively. Side by side again between Potato and Golden. Golden to the inside, and Neb follows suit. That lets him get by one of them, and Golden went off, and Neb's by both of them. So Neb got by that traffic faster than Amish did. And now the gap is down to about 1.3 seconds between Amish and Neb for 4th position. And the gap for lead is down to just 3 seconds, now less than 3 seconds. Scored Buffalo is poising himself wonderfully for this last lap gasp to the end. The other thing Didn't Do is now about to catch some traffic as well, which will only make things harder for Didn't Do. Didn't Do needs to be careful managing his tires as he pulls up alongside that Toyota. He is already at 53% wear. I look at Scored Buffalo right now. His tire wear right now is only at 49%. So again, it's about 4% swing in Buffalo's favor. And Didn't Do is losing ground and is not saving tire life. Buffalo is running Didn't Do down. He is going to catch him with about a lap left, and that is going to be where Didn't Do's tires are at the worst. Now, it's not saying that Buffalo's tires are going to be perfect, but they would be like softs, fresh softs, it would feel like, compared to Didn't Do's dead tires at the end here. There will be a little bit of traffic that Buffalo's going to have to navigate here, but he has shown quite good competency when it comes to navigating traffic. So has Didn't Do. I think that the duo may be in clean air when it comes to the end of this race. Didn't Do. His gap over Buffalo now less than 2.5 seconds. Buffalo is going to have a bonsai run on Didn't Do on this last lap. But is it going to be enough? The gap is closing. Can Buffalo close enough to pull up alongside Didn't Do, nip him at the line? If he can completely pass him earlier, that would be great. Oh, but it's looking real rough now. 56% wear. Coming to the line. It will be 3 laps to go this time by. Also, Neb is right behind Amish, and their fight for 4th and 5th, but this is the fight for the win that we are focusing on. Buffalo, his tires are bad, but not nearly as bad as Dindu, and it's only going to get worse for Dindu to the end here. 2 seconds is the gap now. We ride on board with Buffalo. That car ahead is Dindu. That's not just a dot in the distance. He can see distinct features on Dindu machines. He can tell where the winglets are angled. He can see the individual tires. On occasion, he might even be able to see the glow of the brake rotors, and it's only getting closer. The visibility is only getting better, and when Buffalo gets within 0.8 of a second of Dindu, Dindu will then have to deal with the reverse aero wash, and that could really cause him problems. It is less than 3 laps to go now. Buffalo has now closed the gap down. He is comfortably within 2 seconds. Now 1 second and 3/4 out of Dindu. The gap continuing to rapidly close down here. Buffalo is going to catch Dindu likely about the time they take the white flag, if not a little bit after that. The gap continues to plummet down in Buffalo's favor. Dindu absolutely tore up the gap that Buffalo had earlier in the mid-stage of the race. But now, off the back of tire strategy, the script has been reversed. We are going to be done with this race in about 2 minutes here, and the question is going to be, can Buffalo make it 3 for 3 for victories and starts that he has had this season, as he is trying to take home a max point haul in the first 3 races that he has started this season. Dindu is trying to break the stranglehold that the FEC Elite have here. Now the gap is less than 1.5 seconds as they go down the second back straightaway into the technical section once more. There is traffic ahead, but it does not look like Dindu is catching them with speed. Dindu will be in clean-ish air, but Buffalo is there. Oh my goodness, he is now within 1.25 seconds, 62.7% wear on that left front for Dindu, and it's only going to be worse. But white flag is in the air. This race is going to go green flag to flag by the looks of it. A massive improvement from last season in terms of cleanliness, despite a bigger field. The gap is just a tick over 1 second. This is the last time through turn 1. Now into turn 2, a very aggressive braking zone. And what's this? Dindu has caught Thomas. There is going to be traffic on the last lap here. If it couldn't get bad enough for Dindu, it's now going to be even worse. Buffalo still 1 second out. He is not closing as fast as we thought he would, but Dindu dropped tires in the dirt on the first of the 2 back straightaways. That will work out in Buffalo's favor. The gap is now less than 1 second. Now it's just 0.9 of a second through that right-hander. Now Dindu has the draft off of Thomas. Is Thomas going to give Dindu the lane that he needs to cleanly run through here, through the technical section for a final time? Will Dindu keep it clean? He is staying on the racing line, but Buffalo is now at 2/3 of a second, maybe half a second. 2 quarters left. The gap is gone. Buffalo is right behind the rear wheel of Dindu, but there's only 1 quarter left. Who's it gonna be? Out of the final quarter, Dindu is gonna come home from a 2nd place start position and will barely hold off scored Buffalo. Dindu will be our 3rd different winner in the FEC Summer Indycar Series, barely holding on over scored Buffalo. 3rd place is going to go to Maybe Racing, and look at this, there is a fight for 4th. It is Neb who has just pulled out ahead of Amish just as we are focusing on the fight for a lead, but Neb is going to bring home 4th. Amish, his tires has fallen over, he's going to fall to 5th. So while we look here at Maybe coming around to take home a 3rd position, he is now back on his championship form, and he will move into 2nd in points, trying to close down the gap on Buffalo now. So Maybe another podium result, and then Neb finally turns his awful luck around in the 4th race of the season with a 4th place result, a result fitting of what his actual pace was today. Great job for him. And 5th, rounding out our lead lap finishers, will be Amish Gaming. Amish, fantastic improvement in performance from last season to this season. But your winner, the man we're going to be talking about and hopefully talking to after this race, will be NDL Dindu. We're going to take a Twitch Mandate ad break. When we come back, we'll get some post-race interviews. We'll be back shortly here. All right, let's see if this works. Can you hear me? All right, awesome. Can you send an invite out to Neb and Scored and Didn't Do? All right. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to go ahead and welcome you back here to Grand Oak. Our race is over. Caution free, flag to flag. And we're going to try and get some post-event interviews here with some of our top finishers. First, I'm going to talk with our fourth place finisher, PTG Neb. Neb, in the Xbox party, do you have the option to include your audio? If so, please go ahead and do so. Neb, Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. Neb, it's taken 4 races, but finally your fortunes have turned around. A 4th place result, finally a result befitting of your actual pace. What was the difference today?
I think I'm very happy with my race after about the first 5 laps. That I made an immediate blunder on the strategy. I didn't realise the softs lost as long as I did because I test on 50 rubber and it wears less when the track's rubbing in. So I didn't realise you could do all softs. So I used mediums first stint and that dropped me like 20-30 seconds back. But since from then on, I basically ran a near perfect race, so I'm very happy with that. Had a great battle with Amish near the end.
At any point, was a one-stop medium strategy in the cards for you?
The fuel tank is impossible to go that long unless there's cautions. The fuel tank lasts about 26 laps.
All right, well, that's pretty cut and dry, pretty straightforward then. Anything else you want to say after finally bringing home a respectable result in one of these?
I'm just happy that I've finally not had something chaotically wrong happen. We'll see how it goes the next few weeks as well.
All right. Neb, great job out there. Thanks for jumping in. Good run out there. I also want to talk with our 5th place finisher, Amish Gaming here. Amish, last season, you came home around this position, around 5th or 6th in this race. But the backstory was completely different. Last season, there were yellows that kind of bunched the field up. This season, you ran top 5 on merit all day long. No risk of going a lap down, not even close to going a lap down. Fantastic pace pickup. Where have you found that over the last year?
I guess it just comes from having driven these cars last year and, having that experience behind me. I also just like single-seaters. I don't know what it is. They're just fun to drive. So, Grand Oak is one of my better tracks, too. It's just everything just went right for me today, I guess. I'm just grateful to be here, man.
Well, a top 5 result. This is going to be fantastic. Can you pull off some more top 5s? Maybe even a podium as the season continues.
I mean, we'll see. I think that there are a few other good tracks on the schedule, and if the right people don't show, or if I'm able to keep running on merit, like you said, maybe we can make something work.
All right. Well, mate, thanks for jumping in and talking with us. You had a great run out there, clean run. Missed out on that 4th place result at the end, but you still had a pretty good, solid fight all the way through. Now I want to go ahead and turn our focus to our 3rd place finisher, Maybe Racing, Maybe. Seems like your championship form is coming back, but you're still behind Scored, and it seemed like the strategy didn't quite work out. Is there any way you think you could have made that strategy play out differently that could have gotten you a little closer at the end?
Yeah, I was kind of in the same boat as Neb, except I'd taken it on the mid-stint, just hoping the race would kind of fall our way, or my way in this case. Unfortunately, I never really got the caution I needed. I still end up, unfortunately, lucky to get 3rd. It's really unfortunate what happened to claiming, but we had a really good pace, and my pace on mediums and overall my tire life just wasn't good enough today.
Now, frustrating to hear for sure. If you ran softs all the way through, do you think you would have had something for the duo ahead of you?
Yeah, I think I could have at least been definitely more of a I can't think of a word, but I would have been more in it. It's such a big difference. I don't really know where everything would have turned out, but I think I could have had a chance.
All right, well, maybe it's still a podium, 2nd podium of the season. You're 2nd in the points now. Your championship form seems to be coming back on your championship defense arc. I'll be interested to see what you can do at Indy next week. Thanks for jumping in and talking with us, mate.
Thank you. GG's.
All right, and now I want to talk with our second place finisher, Scored Buffalo. Scored, your perfect streak of earning maximum points in every race you started is over, but you still extend your points lead coming out of today's event. What do you have to say about your run out there? You seem to be, at least from my perspective, it seemed like you were setting up by going one lap longer on the middle stint of the race. It seemed like you were setting up to run Dindu down at the very end, and you had him but couldn't get alongside of him. Was that the plan to begin with, or was it just kind of how it fell out on its own? Well, you ran him down, you caught him, couldn't do anything with him, just not enough time. Scored, fantastic run. Next week is Indianapolis, the biggest race on the season. Will you be there? You have a great lead on the championship. Will you be there to continue your hold on the top of the standings? All right, we'll be looking forward to that. It seems like we may have a interesting championship fight going on, and not just that, an interesting race fight going on in a week's time. But that will be in a week's time. Until next time, I've been your host for today's broadcast, Insane Leo 13. It seems like Dindu is not going to be able to join us due to issues with timing. We understand that, but we do want to say good job on his victory anyway. And that will wrap up our broadcast for tonight. Until next time, farewell and goodbye, everyone.